So you should have the following investigation done, and all we're going to do is we're going to run through and look at each one individually. So the first part here, I'm just going to copy or comment out every function so that we can test run them one at a time. So we can see here if we run just the top part, we're going to print out the original array as is. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to comment out everything after that first function. So here, if I run it, now I'm just running the sort function. And what you should be noticing is that the sort function, what it does is it rearranges the array to be in order from smallest to largest. So notice here it took all of these numbers and they're now ordered smallest to largest. Repeated values, they just put them back to back. And the big thing here that you need to note is that notice how test array is not saved anywhere. So what's happening here is the sort array just resorts test array. So what we're probably going to have to do if you want to save the original integrity of this array is I would create like a test array placeholder and set it equal to test array. So basically what would happen is we would take all of these values, this particular array, save it inside the placeholder, and then what would happen is we could manipulate the array as is. But note that test array.sort automatically sorts the entire array and then resaves this inside of test array. So that's our first function there, is the sort function. So now what we're going to do is we are going to run the reverse function. So notice here, we run the reverse function, or we can kind of hopefully start to make predictions about what's going to happen. There we go. So here it says the original array, and here we have the reverse function is used. So when I look here, what I notice is that this function has basically reversed the entire function. So what the reverse function does is it rewrites the array with all the values in the opposite order. So if you had it in one particular order and you wanted to flip it, that's what the reverse function does. Again, note that it does not need to save the array anywhere. Simply alters it. So this reverse function works just like sort, where it reverses it and then leaves it as is. So now I'm going to move this comment down here. And we're going to now look at the index function. So that's function 3. If I run this, what I notice is I have my original array. I then sent in 2 and 5 to the index function, and it's returning 6 and 0. So 2, I noticed, okay, well, I thought maybe 2 returned the second value, or like the second index, sorry. So I thought maybe if I put a 2 in here, it would go to index 2 and return the value, but that would be 8. So then if I look, I notice I sent in 2 and it's spitting out 6. So what I see is it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what this index function does is it takes in a number and returns the index of that value. Or it just takes in a value in general and returns the index value. So when it's returning 0, it's saying, well, 5 is found at index 0. So that's how the index function works. It takes in a value and returns the index number of that particular value. Okay. So now we're going to look at function 4, which is the insert function. I run this one. What I see is here's my original, and here is this function down here. So this one for me is a little bit interesting. I'm going to put a couple of extra print statements in here because it's hard for me to see. Insert function used time 1. Insert function used time 2. And insert function used time 3. So I'm going to have 3 output statements so I can see what insert is actually doing. So if you notice, each time this runs, it gets a little bit longer. What it's doing is it's going into the array at this moment, going to index 3, and basically slipping 17 in there and bumping everything back. So if I look, I put in 3 at 0, 1, 2, index 3, I put in 17, and then I bumped everything else back in index. Then the next time I went to index 7, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, put 17 in, bumped everything else back. Then I thought, okay, this next time I'm going to take the array as is and go to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, push 17 in there, and then everything else bumps back. So what this particular function does is it takes the array where it's currently at, goes to this particular index. So it takes the array, goes to the index, which is parameter 1, and places the value there, bumping everything else afterwards back 1 index. That's what this function is going to do. It inserts in a value. It doesn't delete anything out. It just inserts in and then bumps everything else back. Okay, 3 more functions to go. The count function. Hopefully you had an educated guess here of what was going on. So we have our count function, and we sent in 2, and we sent in 5. My prediction was that it counts how many there are. So 2, I see 1, 2 2s. And then I sent in 5 and it returned 3, and I see 1, 2, 3, 5. So what this function does is it takes in a value and returns how many times that value is found in the array. So it takes in a value here, looks for it in the array, and returns, which means we have to save the value. It returns the value of it turns how many times this particular value appears. Okay, 2 more functions to go. The remove function, and this is another one where I'm going to put in multiple print statements here because it helps me to see it. So remove function used once, remove function used 2 times, and then remove function used 3rd time. So let's run this and see. I'm going to delete that, see what happens. Okay, so what I notice here is that here's my original array. This says remove 2. So if I look at this, I notice that there were 2 2s in here. And the second time that this is run, there's only 1. This original 2 between the 9 and the 5, oh, hold on, it said remove 5. Excuse me, I skipped one. It said remove 5. What I notice is this original first 5 is now gone. I can see that. The other 5s remain, but this 5 is gone. I look at the next line. This next one removed 2, so it removed the first 2 that it found, and this next one removed the first 4. So what the remove function does is it takes in a value and removes that value from the array. It only removes the value the first time it is found, not every single one. So if you want to remove multiple 5s, you're going to have to put remove 5 multiple times in order to remove that. But remove will remove the first instance of that value found in the array. And then finally, I have this one here. So I got a few too many comments in there. So comment, close off the comments there. The last one we're going to look at is the pop function. This one is also a little bit difficult to see, so I'm going to put this in here multiple times. So pop function used once, pop function used twice, pop function used the 3rd time. Okay. There we run it. What we notice is that this array is getting shorter, and pop 8, 3, and 5, what this one does, if you struggled to pick up on it, is it goes to the 8th index and it pops that 8th index out of the array completely. So we had 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This 2 before the 3 and the 6 was the 8th index. What pop does is it pops out the 8th index, and then it resaves the array there. We look at the next one, pop 3. It pops out at 0, 1, 2, 3. It popped out the 4. Pop 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It popped out the 2. So essentially what this does is it takes in an index value and removes the value there from the array. That's all pop does. If you want a summary of all of these, I have them in my slides right here. But